Hello friends, Namaskar. I am Anil Kumar Srivastav. I shall today discuss about the role and footprints of the women in the Constituent Assembly that and out of which reached in the August House after 1952 first Lok Sabha elections. We are hearing that the bill, women reservation bill has been passed. The biggest message or the most happiest message that we can receive is true that we are not able to even accept that this bill has been passed and that this bill has gave a big message to the women and the men also. The unanimous voting in the Rajya Sabha on 20th September and when the bill was passed by 454 versus 0. And in the next day, after long debate in the Rajya Sabha, the bill was passed by voice vote, that is by unanimous vote 215 versus 0. This is a unanimous decision and this is the biggest decision that the Indian Lok Sabha can ever take in the history of the constitutional history of the parliament. That the bill gave the message to all the women that their counterpart men are also accepting their powers and they are bestowed towards to them. That is, they are performing in all the fields, whether it is in economy or in the science or in the space or in the military. But we want to tell you about the women who have been creating history when the constitution was on the making, and even before in 1937 Vijay Lakshmi Pandit, who after the passing away of her husband shifted to US and took different degrees in the education, and thereafter she returned in 1935 and 19 in the Government of India Act 1937, the English government has made that the 80 provincial seats will be reserved for the women. 41 seats will be reserved for the women. And when the provincial elections took place in 1937, 80 legislators were elected from the provincial seats. This was surprising for the whole of the world, for a country which was lowest democracy and the lowest literacy. Even then their women, nearly 80 women have become the legislators. Most astonishing news it was then, because if we compare in those times in the history, we find that the only USA and USSR were the two leading nations who have got more women legislators than India. But still India was led by the colonial rulers, Britishers, and it has not got independence. So we can see that what the role was being played, and this same role was played when she was elected in 1937 at the health minister, Mrs. Vijay Lakshmi Pandit, who became the after independence the first female ambassador from India. So we can see that their excellence was nowhere equal to anybody. They were surpassing in every field for their women counterparts. And in 1946 we find that 15 women were doing a lot of job for creating a history when the constitution was making. Most of the women were representing the fundamental rights and they were chosen that the members of the Fundamental Right Committee. and they have been given so important role to play in the women. In those days, even the women were vocal. Only 15 women were there out of the 299 members, but these were vocal when the question of universal uniform civil code was taken in, and all the whether it was Ansha Mehta or Rajkumari Amrit Kaur or any other member, they have discussed that this was the need of the time and this should be given. If we see the speeches of those days during Constituent Assembly, we can find the kind of excellence and the kind of eminence they have got in debate, and their knowledge and was unable to estimate. And when in 1952 the first general elections for the Lok Sabha were held, the first ministry was formed. 22 women were representing the Lok Sabha or the parliament, and most of these women belong to the elite society or members of the Constituent Assembly. One of the important members of the Constituent Assembly was the minister Rajkumari Amrit Kaur. She was a princess and she belonged to the Kapurthala princess family, and she was made the health minister in the 1952 second Nehru government, and her deputy was Margaret Chandrasekhar, and both of these women got to present a biggest bill for the health care infrastructure. When we see today, we can imagine the kind of imagination they have had and the kind of knowledge they have had, because they were to present the bill in the Lok Sabha, and her deputy was Margaret Chandrasekhar from South. The health minister Rajkumari Amrit Kaur presented the bill for the food adulteration. Now we can see the food adulteration is so much important for India. We now see that it is very important for the saving the health of the people and society in large. And the second bill, this bill was also passed, and the second bill that she was presented, that she was very much thinking about the health of the society, health of the country, and in this field she first thought that our children who go to foreign country for studying postgraduate degree in medical and further degrees in research to the foreign countries, there should be a higher postgraduate institute in India. So this very point, the thinking of this was very important. The bill was also very important today when we see that the death rate and the death rate has even came to 6 per 1,000. It is because of the thinking of the Rajkumari Amrit Kaur. She has given a so bright idea, that is a super institution in the health care, that is postgraduate institution and research institution must be immediately started. And as a result, this bill was debated many times, and this was ultimately passed in the first Lok Sabha or the parliament. So you can imagine that what is the product of this debate and the result of the presentation of the bill. This health care will give a future health care infrastructure to the country, and that brought the death level, which was ranging from 40 per thousand to even 6 per 1,000. And as a result of this bill, the most important thing that I would like to tell you, and I am thinking the ideas of Princess Amrit Kaur, that she was able to see this dream that India should have this kind of institution. And as a result, All India Institute of Medical Sciences was born. So now this is the biggest achievement, and that you can see that today when a person is diagnosed that he cannot be saved by any institution in India, then every Indian wants to go to the All India Institute of Medical Sciences. This is the thought and brainchild of the first great women, Princess Rajkumari Amrit Kaur, and her deputy Margaret Chandrasekhar. Similarly, we also see that there were so much knowledgeable 22 women were in the parliament, but their knowledge was unmeasurable and so vast that we can never think. And they were passed through the all Indian national movement, and they have been the product of this movement. But instead of the last difficulties they were facing, the colonial rule and the so-called male-dominated society, they had to study and get a lot of knowledge in the different universities. You can also find that Renuka Chakravarti, who used to teach in the Britain after having a great degree, but later on she shifted to India, and she was the member in 1952 from the Basirhat seat of the West Bengal, and she was responsible for the equal right for equal men. This article came, this bill was presented by her. And many other will, we find the kind of debate that these women were holding, that their male counterpart have not any answer. In the Workman Compensation Bill, that the Factories Act, and in other acts relating to the our laborers in the factories, and the adoption of the Child Act. In these acts, which were presented by males, they have a great debate on these issues, and they have a different stand. And it was their knowledge, and it was their debate, and the kind of the intellectual debate that they did in the parliament, that they left a footprint in the history of the women empowerment in India. So it was the first Lok Sabha that gave a tremendous momentum for the women of India, and that today we find that the effect of those women of the first Lok Sabha in 1952 were making the history by debating and by making the new laws and new kind of orders. No wonder that they wanted that their share in the political arena in the Lok Sabha, the Parliament Legislative Assembly, must grow. As a result, we know that in 331 of the Indian Constitution it has been made that the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes must be represented and must have reservation. But these persons, these women have come from the different path. And similarly, the daughter of Patel, uh, uh, Mr. Manubhai Patel, uh, she was also very much vocal. Maniben Patel. Maniben Patel was the daughter of first deputy PM of India, or Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, first Home Minister of India. And she had presented two bills. One, the suppression of the immoral traffic and the brothel act or bill, and this the need of this bill was that the women were maltreated in the brothels, like the not like the human body, and she had seen the pity state of these brothels, so she moved this bill for the suppression or immoral traffic, because the women were taken from one place to another, then they were sold. So this there was a need for the immediate check of this country. So Maniben Patel moved this bill, and this bill was also passed. And the second bill that she moved was not less important. That was the second bill. The second bill related to the women and children licensing institutions. She had studied that the different orphanage centers are becoming a center of the exploitation, and she presented a bill in the parliament to completely do away this practice. That is, there should be no maltreatment with the children, whether they are male or female, in the orphanage centers. And this bill was again passed. So we see that the different bills were coming, and all the bills that came from the women's side, they were sufficiently prepared, and there was hardly any answer to anybody, that whether it were male or it were the females. So we find that these women were doing a great job. So now the time has come when we have seen on 20th September 2023, after more than 75 years, that their ideas were converted into reality. So the footprints have been written by them in the history. And there was some other bills which were presented by these women, and of course the one of the important bill, that the Dowry Act, was also presented in the bill, and the Dowry Act later on it was also passed in 1961. And very important to see that these bills, which were laying the foundation stone of the future of India, the future of the healthcare in India, the future of the equality rights of the women in India, these women were also laying the foundation stone of the future of the Indian women. Now we can see today no area, whether it is military, whether it is space, whether it is science, whether it is oceanography or anything else, you can see the large number of women are studying, and they are outpassing their male counterpart in different fields. Even in IAS we can find that nearly 21% women, working women, are IAS at present. And one of the most important bill that was presented before in 1952 by Phul Singh Ji, Bharat Singh Ji Davi, regarding the 497 Adultery Act. This bill was presented by Phul Singh Ji, Bharat Singh Ji, Dabhi, the bill related to the dowry, bill related to the adultery of IPC under 497. An amendment have been put by the then member of August House, Mr. Phul Singh Ji, Bharat Singh Ji, Dabhi, that he said that the section 497 adultery, the male have been made liable for the punishment, but the act is done by both the male and the female. So the female should also be put into the same category. They also get some kind of punishment as the male. The provision should be changed. When this bill, the changing of the 497 adultery came before the house, the many important women, now we can see their imaginations and their power of knowledge and power of logic, that when this bill came, the jayshree, the then member of the August House from the suburban constituency of Bombay, it was she who has mooted the bill of Dowry Act, which later became the Dowry Act in 1961, and it was she when she again debated the bill, the amendment moved by Bharat Singh Ji, Phul Singh Ji, Dabhi, challenging his argument for the amendment. She said that the present day women status in India, that is, they are the piece of weak, helpless, and piece of the human flesh, helpless, peaceless, piece of the human flesh, and devoid of the soul. The kind of word that she has used, we can immediately see that the logic that she was telling before the August House is understandable, and no one can even deny it. The whole society was male-dominated society, and it is for that reason India has not been able to give that share up to 75 years, that for those the women like jayshree was fighting, and she presented the picture of the then women of India, and she said that the helpless soul of the helpless piece of the human flesh devoid of soul. She further said that if you want to move amendment, and if you want to get this amendment to be done, first of all you should make all the women to become economically powerful, and they should first be given their right for what they stand for, and for they have nonetheless no less right than their men counterpart. And that is why she had said that this amendment is acceptable, that they should be given their right. First of all, you should improve them, their conditions, their economic conditions and their political conditions, and then you should move this bill. Today, she further elaborated that today in India, all the women are just sub judice, that they are the just obedient, and they are obeying the rules of their husbands in the dominated field in the society. So we find that these women were writing the history And of course, the women were continuously fighting. If you see that the representation of the women in the Lok Sabha or the state assemblies is almost 10% of the assemblies, in 14% this time in the parliament. But up to 2000 it was less than 7%. So we were not treating the women as equal, although they have been made equal in the constitution, but in practice they were not equal. And it is because of that attitude which dominated the whole after independence era, and that is why in the 1996 when it was presented, it cannot get through, and in the 2010 it again did not get through, because the bill was passed in the women reservation bill was passed in the Rajya Sabha by 186 to 1, and when it was presented in the Lok Sabha, then the UPA members, mostly belonging to the Samajwadi Party and RJD, they threatened Congress or the UPA government that they will withdraw the bill. They will withdraw their support from the government, and the Congress government will be without the majority and the government will fall. And it is because of that threat the Congress has thrown this bill in the standing committee. So it is the male-dominated society, and because of these things, we are not able to get, our nation could not be able to get that status. In 1937, we were almost leading country. Today, only two countries, only USA and USSR, were ahead of the women representation when our country was even not independent also. And today, when we are independent, out of the 193 countries in the United Nations, the Indian representation in the parliament is nearly 141st position. So you can just imagine that before independence, we have in 1937 our place in the women representation was third, and today we are at 141st nation. So, and we would like to tell you that Subhadra Joshi, who from the student period became Gandhian, and she was the Subhadra Joshi, not only won the 52nd MP election from Karnal, and secondly she fought against in 1957 from other constituencies. She also fought in 1957. She fought against the great man of India, that is Atal Bihari Vajpayee, and she defeated in Balrampur, UP, Vajpayee, Atal Bihari Vajpayee, our Prime Minister, late Prime Minister. So we can see the women power. Women is like Durga, like Kali, and she can do anything. Today we have seen just some days before that the Chandrayaan, which had been sent on the moon, the great contribution was given by the women. The 54 women were behind this scheme, behind this project. Had there been a more representation of the women in our parliament and the legislative assemblies, our nation could have been touching the greater heights. So we should today give our uh, tributes to uh, these prominent members of the first Lok Sabha, who have laid the foundation stone for the future development of the women, and as a result we have achieved today. And the most important thing that has happened was that the bill was unanimously passed. So anyone can see what is the force behind it. Unanimity. What is the force behind the unanimity? All the male leaders were thinking that the women have become so awakened, and if they go back support from this bill, then they will not see the next Lok Sabha elections. And so it is this power that made them bound to support the bill unanimously and rightly, because they are the 48% of our population and they are just half of our population. They should be given the 50% representation, and if they are given only 35%, that is their right. We are not giving them any kind of favor to them. It is their right. They have 50% population, and so 48% population, so they have by all kind of or by any kind of measurement or norm that you apply, they need 33% reservation. And besides this, you can also see that if the women get representation, our country will be developing more and more, and no country can match with the magic power and magic presence of these women in the next Lok Sabha, in the coming Lok Sabha, when this bill come into existence, and when this will be implemented after the delimitation of the constituencies. Thank you very much.